Skills. We don't get it right day one, but we do get better with practice. Try and try again.
Let's hop in. To recap knowledge, what we should know when it comes to equity in local government depends on our context and our goals. We did cover 4 general good areas of knowledge, including systems of oppression, critical theory, socio-political contexts, and socio-cultural perspectives. With this all in mind, let's move on to skills. With skills, it depends. There's a pattern here. It's for each of us to ask, what skills do we want? Do we want to train others? Do we wish to synthesize equity with our field of expertise? Regardless, we emphasize skills over traits, as with skills we tend to believe we can improve with practice, such as a child learning to play the piano, whereas traits get a reputation of being more fixed, we have it or we don't. Let's focus on where we can grow and improve on, and to emphasize, we'll stick with stock images of youth to represent how each of us can pick up new skills just as we did in the past. Like knowledge, we'll cover a few more general, handy skills to possess. Communication is key, especially as we work across our differences. In some ways, it may feel a bit counterintuitive to think we need to practice more communicating as we communicate every day. And yet, the challenge is that there are miscommunications, misunderstandings all the time. We try to paint a picture of sunny skies and rainbows, and someone else sees nothing but dreariness. We try to communicate a real problem that needs attention and funding, and get shrugs and people looking at their phones and laptops instead. We can be intentional and consider where we can better develop as communicators in whatever forms, styles, and contexts suit each of our work. The majority of us want to get along, want to move forward, want to work through problems. It's just sometimes there are conditions attached. Like a child who has to be bartered with to eat a meal they're not keen on, sometimes people need a trade-off, need to feel a sense of moral rightness in a situation, or maybe they just need someone to hear them out, to really listen. There are many tips, tricks, and best practices to negotiate that each of us can find if we so choose. Networking. I know for some it feels like a dirty word. There's an image of disingenuous people schmoozing to get favors down the road. It can be. It can also be forming professional relationships, making human connections with others and letting them grow and develop naturally. If we believe in what we're trying to accomplish, there should be nothing holding us back from building connections with others, both those we think whose knowledge, experience, and expertise can help us out, and those we're not sure about. Who knows? You never know which person will hit the metaphoric home run for our project. We should not pursue greater equity alone. We have to find others to get into our bullpen, or perhaps find an already established bullpen that we can join ourselves. Risk-taking. When do we push hard for an effort, and when do we step back? Pushing for equity has risks. Pushing for greater equity means asking for changes that some don't want to happen. It is asking for the sharing of power from some who don't want to share it. To do things in a different way tomorrow holds an implicit, if not explicit, acceptance that the way we're doing things today and did them yesterday could have been better. Some people don't want to admit that. It is a matter of understanding organizational politics and the changing environment. For example, a time of budget increases is different than a time of budget cuts. And like everything else, there are best practices and ways to improve out there. Our last general skill is resilience. How well do we take the hits? How quickly and strongly do we bounce back? I'd argue the real challenge here is less about the hardship of the work and more the temptation to just be comfortable, to not poke the hornet's nest, to do our job, get our paycheck, and let someone else fight for the underdog. Why spend months of passion, creativity, of putting ourselves out there to propose some big new change, only to get it shot down by someone who's not paying attention, when we could have been doing something else with our lunch breaks, evenings, weekends? Not that the setbacks become easy per se, But with resilience, which yes, this too can be learned with practice and picking up on different techniques and methods, we learn to endure and to roll with it. I want to pause for a moment here. I know that between the last video of knowledge and this video on skills, I haven't necessarily provided any sort of expertise in these areas. That's okay. We don't need to be masters in all 5 of these skills and more to do the work. I'm not. I'm still working on these 5 and a lot more to do better myself. This is more to provide some clear options that if each of us want to build up some skills, here's a starting list to consider, whatever feels right for each of us. If any of us feel stuck on not knowing what to do, here are some potential paths to take. For our example, we turn to the city and county of Broomfield. One area they decided to improve on were language skills. They offered both a language service that employees could call and utilize, as well as iPads with translating capabilities. Not 1, but 2 methods to serve residents who may not be as proficient talking about technical local government matters in their 2nd or 3rd language. This is a great example of complementing our current skills with others. Sometimes it can be hiring a person with the skills no one currently has. Sometimes it's getting innovative technology that fills in any gaps. Thank you, Broomfield. For our optional exercise, consider not just looking at how to improve whatever skill we think is our weakest, but improving upon what we think our strengths are. There's a certain strategy that rather than focus on going from below average to okay in something, to move from good to great, or from great to exceptional in what each of us are passionate about. One angle to consider. Up next, our final theme covering the classic trio, we talk behavior.